The Nets have missed 11 of their last 13 shots.
Well, even on a night when Chicago's defense isn't at its best, you know it's capable of putting together a stretch, and that's what we've seen here. Now the question for Brooklyn is you see the fouls to give, none for Chicago. But for Brooklyn, where do you go? It's got to be Deron Williams. 30 points, 10 assists. But this defense now for Chicago engaged and locked in.
And the Nets are going to take another timeout. They wanted to see how the Bulls were going to play it defensively, so they now have one timeout remaining. They have a 20-second timeout left. The Bulls have 2 20s, and the Bulls are over the foul limit.
You know, you think about what Brooklyn's done offensively today, it's freeing up Williams on the weak side. When they've gone high pick and roll or isolation with him, they haven't had much success. So I would look for some kind of movement. I don't think they can afford to just flatten out and go one-on-one. Both defense is too good. So movement on the weak side, maybe bring Williams off of the screen, try to get some rotations, maybe get Lopez on a drop-off.
26.3 remaining in terms of game time, and the Nets have a full 24. The story here has been the sensational shooting performance by Nate Robinson. He single-handedly brought the Bulls back. Johnson, played by Downs. Johnson trying to spin into position. Johnson with the runner, he ties it. Clutch shot, one-on-one by Joe Johnson, going against one of the best defenders in the NBA in Luol Deng.
And they had nothing going. Marv, the original screen was blown up, and so Deng ended up in an isolation one-on-one with Johnson. And this is what ISO Joe is known for, the ability to break down the defender and create his own shot, and he comes up huge there.
So the Bulls take a timeout. They'll have one left, and we're down to 11.8 remaining in this 5-minute overtime, and the game is tied at 119.
Is it Nate Robinson time? I mean, he's done everything else. At the very minimum, Marv, you've got to get the ball in his hands. He doesn't have to take the shot, but you've got to create offensive force and movement so that the Brooklyn defense has to rotate. We've seen multiple buckets now from Noah and Boozer because that Nets defense was chasing Robinson around.
Bulls will put it in play in their front court. Heinrich will throw in. The ball in the hands of Robinson. We're down to 5 seconds. Robinson with a running one hand. He hits it with 1.7 remaining. Timeout, Brooklyn. Steve, that was not the intent to go glass.
Are you sure? I don't know. Everything else he's thrown up today has gone in. It's one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen. Unbelievable. Just one-on-one against Williams. Knocks it in. They might have to put a statue of this guy outside the building, right next to Michael.
We're getting crazy now. 1.7 remaining. In overtime, the Bulls now lead 121 to 119. In what has been a thrilling game.
Robinson, Marvin, has always been an offensive machine, a guy who can come off the bench and light it up, but you never know what you're going to get. He's so emotional. We saw him in the first half. The double technical with Watson almost took himself out of the game. But so explosive. And this has been the best performance I can ever remember from a guy off the bench in the fourth quarter and an overtime. Just stunning. I don't believe what I've seen.
And apparently that was not a Nets timeout. They may be reviewing whether it was a 2 or a 3.
No, it was clearly a 2. I think they're reviewing.
Like a 2.
I'm guessing they're reviewing the clock. Yeah.
Perhaps the time remaining. Let's take another look here.
Well, yeah, it was closer than we thought. His foot was on the line. But in that case, they can look at the clock and the three-point ruling. He leaned in and took off like a long jumper. By the time he released it, the shot was released by the elbow. But I didn't realize his foot was so close to that three-point line, back right on top of it.
Well, they added 5/10 of a second, so we now have 2 seconds remaining. And it will be net ball with the Bulls up by 2.
Well, you've got 2 guys in Johnson and Williams who can create enough space to get a shot off on their own. There's one last look at it. So for Brooklyn, enough time for a pass, a dribble, maybe even 2 quick dribbles. Johnson is the most likely guy to go to 6'8" and strong. He can shoot over the top.
And now the Nets, after the review, called a timeout to be able to move the ball into the front court. So they are out of timeouts. 2 seconds left. The Bulls by 2. Wallace inbound. Johnson with the run and a tie. He does at the buzzer. And we head to a second overtime. Joe Johnson comes up with yet another huge shot.
Talk about an instant classic. This is one of the best games of the season, the best game of the playoffs. So many players coming up. Huge. Joe Johnson on the runner and brilliant use of the clock. He knew he had a step and a dribble to take. Second overtime coming up.